Right, that's right. Okay, and I'll just let Connie in. I think we've got one person at the moment who's joining us. She'll just be listening to us and laughing. So firstly, welcome, Betty. Thank you for coming. We can see you, Connie. And thanks for coming, and congratulations on the awards, and well done. What I'm going to do is I just want to put up here your page. So I'm going to share the screen with your work, and hopefully we can still see each other. This wasn't the winning piece, but I've used this piece because I really love the sort of drama in this work. And we were discussing sort of drama and themes and concepts and why people do the work they do. So first of all, thank you, Betty, for joining us. And I guess the main question that starts off the conversation is, why did you think of entering the awards?
I just trusted my instincts. I don't enter a lot of contests, but when I see one that really resonates with me, I enter it really fast. And this one did. I like the Bible. I like the whole group. I didn't even know it existed until the call for art came through my Instagram feed. So I was really excited. And when I get really excited and feel very intuitive about something, I jump on it. And so I'm really glad that I did. I was just happy to enter. And when you put me on the long list, I was like, great, that's awesome. So I'm really glad that I entered. Thank you very much.
No, and I similar to this morning with Katrine, and what you were saying there is a lot of people are very scared to enter. Like, I get a lot of people saying, I'm not going to enter, I'm not going to win, it's too difficult. And we're trying to get past that, because a lot of people that have entered have been like, oh, I didn't expect it, or so it's quite nice. It hasn't been egotistical, which is quite good. Rather, it's just, let's go for it, let's be part of it and see what happens. That's sort of the goal that I'm aiming for with regards to opening the opportunities. And hopefully it was really nice to hear you saying similar. I just thought I'd do it. I like the vibe, and that's the sort of direction, and it didn't feel too stressful. I think that's quite nice to hear from you.
That's something I noticed about fashion illustrators versus other groups of artists. There's not a lot of ego. I'm really happy with every illustrator that I've talked to has been really low key, supportive, nice, friendly, funny. So it's a different vibe altogether. I love it.
Yeah. And well, we see a lot of it, and I guess our goal, and you'll see it quite a lot more, is we're trying to see how to raise the bar, how to help financially get people to understand how to survive as an illustrator, rather than, we see it as, I'll be an illustrator, hopefully to become an artist. And that's sort of, the Warhols and the Basquiats and the Picassos, and they were all illustrators, and they sort of blend. And I think this pressure to become an illustrator and maybe then become an artist is a tough one. And I think you just have to follow like you said, you follow your instinct and go where you feel that pathway's right at the moment. And I think illustrators tend to have a little bit more less ego, and they be a little bit more relaxed about the whole approach to it. And they understand about being skin and just letting creativity be the main factor, which is quite good. So I guess the piece that I'm going to show here is your winning piece. And I think there was just you and somebody else who was kind of down to the last two. I can't remember who the actual the other person was. But with regards to your piece, David Downton loved your work. He really particularly picked your piece with regards to the energy. It had a sort of combination of sort of classicism and modernism, which was quite nice. So I think you kind of managed to grapple with the two, which I think was really great. And the energy, and it feels quite contemporary, even though it has that sort of old timeless look to it, which is quite nice for an and you didn't look like a pastiche of someone else. That's quite an important thing. So I guess you can talk us through this, because I know you do many drawings and you do live drawing, and so like, where did this piece evolve from and where did it come from?
So I joined the Drawing Cabaret Couture group last year, and this was one of their setups. I love them. They do all the hard work. They did the setup and pull in the fashion designers, and then I and the other artists just get to draw. And so this was one of the first ones where I really felt like I could loosen up. I was getting the hang of doing fashion drawing again. I hadn't really touched it since the 90s, perhaps. So I had to, and I was kind of working on oil painting and realism when I started in that group. And then I switched over to watercolors and working on speed. And I just really loved this pose. I loved the garments. I really wanted to capture just this flowing, almost mystical thing. And I had been working on simplifying a lot. So every piece I do, I'm trying to make better than the last one, whatever better is. But I also, I like to experiment. So I don't think I had started using the brush show on this one, but that came later. I really like those. So I'll switch up materials and things like that. And so also Janet Mayer is the model, and I love her facial expressions. And so I was just I try to capture, what is the model trying to say? What was the designer trying to say? What am I trying to say? And then just kind of paint and see what happens.
Yeah, because what I see is that sort of a bit like Manet. It has a bit Toulouse-Lautrec. It has that sort of that little group of illustrators and artists who sort of ponder between the two spaces of the drawing and the drawing moving into painting, like Degas or someone like that. So it's quite, I think here you've really captured the essence of the look and the person. It's almost telling a story which feels quite narrative based, which is great. And all the pieces that you sent in were fantastic. But this one, for me, I think it has the vibrancy, and I think it's quite nice that, because I did a little bit of research on you as well, and I saw the more finished work that you do. And for me, I really prefer these sort of work in progress. And I talk about this quite a lot, is people showing their sort of the thought process, the thinking. You can really see the artist a bit like Giacometti. And I think that's how I feel when I look at your stuff, where when they're a bit too finished, not just your work, with some artists, you feel that there's no more to discover about the artist, or there's no. That's why drawing shows are really interesting, because you get to see behind the scenes. And I don't know, is there any influences that you really look at, or who inspires you?
I look at everything. I love every piece of art that I see. It may not be, something I would want to possess. I'm just happy that they made it. I just get so excited by all forms of art, all kinds of artists. And I feel like I can learn something from every one of them. And a lot of the work that I've done has, just been learning and practicing as I go. Like you, I'm not real fond of my own finished pieces either. I think they're boring. So, I mean, I like them, and I like that I worked on them and I had fun doing it and learning. That's really important to me. But I wanted to bring something different and more exciting and involve the viewer, let them think a little bit, let them follow along and come up with their own story about it, not to be too literal. So again, another thing that was on my list of things to work on.
And was this a quick piece, or how long was it?
This one I probably spent in total, and now I have to work in between a billion other things. I'm a mom. I, have a lot of
Yeah.
other work to do. And so I work, 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. I rarely get large blocks of time to just sit and paint. That's my dream. So it probably took an hour altogether, perhaps.
So
Yeah.
it's a good amount of time, and I know
Yeah.
it, but I think if you'd spent any more time on it, I think it would have been destroyed. And I think it's just got the right amount of energy and the layering, and it's nice to see you kind of mixing and working with different sort of mark making is quite interesting. You've got, but it's lovely. It's sort of has this. I don't know, you've got the Rococo, the Renaissance, they're all diving in there, which is what I like about when we looked at your work. But moving on to other works, which I thought was quite interesting.
Oh,
So I've just picked works that really resonated for me. I did a little bit of scouring around, and one of the things we've spoke about is this sort of when people look at our Instagram or they look at our website, and we get negative feedback from people with regards to it doesn't look good, or it looks, my kid could have done that, classic feedback. And we have to have courage. We spoke about this morning about courage, and what I love about your work is it has that courage, and you're sort of willing to lay yourself bare with the drawing side of it. So, and are these done at the same Cabaret Couture? I recognize Janet on the left.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and the first one was done really fast. I think that probably took less than 10 minutes. That's, yeah, Janet was in that one, and that's watercolor. And then the other one I spent a little more time on, that was acrylic. I was trying out some metallic acrylics and some other things. This is gonna sound awful, but I don't care what anybody thinks. So I just do it. And if somebody likes it, that's great. And if they don't, that's great too.
yeah, but that's a good, that's the sort of area you get to in art, is where the best work's created, where enough is enough. I don't care if anyone buys it, likes it. I'm
Yeah.
just going to do it for me now. And if you can get people to like that work, that's when you're in the sweet spot. And, for me, when I look at this work, I think it's great. It's refreshing. It's great to see. So it's so nice to, and obviously I recognize some of the characters in there, so it's
Yeah.
quite funny. But it's just a great, the intensity and that triangle, and this, as if art critics are looking at, they'll look at the sort of the triangles of the Bauhaus and people like that, so they can have their own mission of statement. But I just think they're really powerful, energetic artworks, and I love them, and I'm hoping we'll see more now. Now, and with regards to becoming part of our little community of people, is hopefully we'll see more. And we're always watching. Everyone's watching. It sounds terrible, but it's nice to see and kind of get a vibe. So I'll just show you the other ones that I selected. So these were three other ones that I kind of, one looks a bit more worked into, one's more colorful, and then a sort of this light color working, which I find fascinating. So I don't know if you want to explain these. Are these done with this? I think the two on the left are from the same. I'm not too sure.
They are from the same session. And the first one, again, experimenting, I took pictures of it at different stages, and I've worked with it on different levels. I actually didn't like the black background after I added it, but luckily I had a photograph with the white background, so I'm kind of using that in place of this one. I think it came out a little harsh. My son said, "She looks old." I said, "Yeah, she does." It's harsh, with the black, but when I take the black background away, it's a lot softer. The second one was from the same session. My goal was to go as simple as possible. I was trying to do as few brush strokes as I possibly could and still capture the essence of the design and the floral. I may have gone a little too loose, but I love that one too.
Yeah.
So, and then the third one was a different setup altogether. That's actually a crop from a horizontal piece. And I just really loved getting lost in all of that color. It felt really luscious, and that was my favorite part of it. So that's why I cropped it right there. I wanted everybody to just really like swim in the color because that's what was exciting about it for me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
each one is just kind of different. I don't know.
no, and I guess my opinion would be probably similar to yours. And you know, you can, I think of Marc Chagall in the last one, that sort of mystery and dance and like that swimming side of it with the beautiful colors. And it's nice to see, like for me, I think the middle one really works. And I think the final one really works as well. And like you said, the black, I picked them because I could see a sort of progression somewhere and you stripping back as well. So it's quite nice to see we're thinking across the same sort of lines, which is quite nice. And what I guess what will be interesting is with regards to your background, how did you get into doing this? Or did you go to university or college, or what did you do?
Well, I've drawn since I was a child. I can't help it at this point, but I did go to an art school for about a year. I didn't stay in due to financial stuff. And I had probably one fashion illustration class there. My teacher designed uniforms and things like that. So I did get some basics and some life drawing from that school. Um, and then I moved into graphic design because it pays the bills. And didn't really do a whole lot of any artwork except maybe a gift for a friend or something like that for about 20 years. And yeah, and then my life, I had sort of a big upheaval. I was in a very bad car accident. I was in a wheelchair for a year. And when I came out of that, I knew what was missing. You know, aside from taking care of my child being the most important thing, I said, I cannot die without having done more art. And so I just started doing it, and I did it for me, and it makes me feel good. I feel bad when I don't do it. So it was mainly just, I have to do this. I don't feel right about myself if I don't. And so I started again after that big break of 20 years of not doing anything. And the goal was just, well, I'll build out my Illustrator portfolio so I can do more illustrative work instead of so many brochures and logos and things like that. And then just grew from there, I guess. And I can't stop. It's an obsession.
Which is great. And I've pointed this out to a few people, is I think we're about probably 90% of people in our community are women, and a lot of them have kids, and they're like, they'll say, can we speak in the evening because my kids either need to go to bed,
Yeah.
or I need to hide them somewhere, or God knows what happens. And they've all got lots of kids running around, which is great. You know, I have 3 kids as well, and I have to, mine are all hidden now because they've just got back from school. I can hear them all coming in, but I've got a big door up to keep them away. But with regards to, I guess, it's great to see the kids and getting the kids involved in the conversation of looking at your work and you being happy about it. Because we do have a lot of people with regards to doing their work and they make it too serious. And like I can see someone on here and she mentioned, like, in our discussions, you know, I'm struggling or I'm having a tough time or I've got brain freeze or something like that. And I think, you know, sometimes you just have to just draw, even if it's good, bad, ugly. And I think what's nice about you, what I really love is this sort of exposure to just doing stuff. And I'm really trying to force people to understand more about the processes of what people go through and not being such a realist, you know, because at your earlier work, where I was looking at it, you've really come on, even though to some people they might say you've digressed. But for an artist, for me, you've really gone forwards. but I know the mainstream world are like, well, it doesn't look real or it doesn't look realistic. So I guess, do you ever get tempted to like go back, or like, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, I can tell you that I went through a period of complete fear about showing my work, especially when I was first starting. I would show it to friends, but I said, I need to get over this. This is ridiculous. It's just art, you know? So I just started posting everything I did online until I just got over myself. And so the goal all along has been learning and building that portfolio. But I agree with you that getting away from realism is my ultimate goal. I love doing figure work, but I want to do it in a different way, or use the figure somehow to convey a different message. That's what I'm working towards. It's never been about realism, though. I felt like I needed to learn realism first. I needed to really learn how to capture an image. And again, that's just trusting my instincts. I don't know why. Everybody around me says, why are you doing figures? Why are you painting? Nobody paints anymore. It's all contemporary, this, that. You know, I've heard it all. And I just said, well, this is just what feels good to me. So that's what I'm going to do.
It is great. And, you know, I did printmaking and things like that. And it's just great to get back to the tactility of making. And I think from the first talk this morning, and even me, look, my hands are really dirty because I've been painting as well.
Hey.
So it's good for all of us to keep working. And it was interesting this morning when Katrine was like, yeah, and I have to turn up with my kids, and my hands are black and I have paint on my face. And people were like, oh my God, look at your mum's estate, or does she not wash her hands? But it's ink. Ink doesn't wash away.
That's
So
right.
it's really nice. So, and I did say we didn't want to keep the conversation too long. So is there anything before we leave, like with regards to work that you're doing at the moment that you think you're really interested about, or a show that you're going to have, or anything that's potentially going to come? Like anything in the future that you think, oh, I'm working on this, or that you'd like to share?
Well, eventually I would like to have a show. I feel like I need a few more pieces of work. Maybe I'd like to work with a gallery at some point and do a full show. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like yet. I have a ton of ideas and sketchbooks. So I guess I'll just see how that progresses and keep trusting my instincts and follow my nose until I get to whatever that is. I don't have a really clear vision, but I would like to have a show that's cohesive and has something meaningful for the viewer to interact with. I've thought about animating some of them and doing like a VR or AR show. Possibly something like that. I think other artists are already doing that, so it's not my original idea, but I can see these even being really interesting in that way. Just combining the digital realm.
It is hard to kind of, because I've done some VR work and I've worked in AR, and the hard part is you lose your crowd as well. So people come to a show, because I remember doing work and I'd work for lots of designers, and then I'd have a show and everyone's like, where's all the work? Like, what's this crap? And,
yeah.
and I'm like, well, this is what I'm doing at the moment. And I think everyone thought I was crazy, but you have to take the risk. You have to maybe not sell at a show. And you know, you just put it out there. And I think a lot of artists have said to me, like, oh, I really need a gallery. Like you were saying, you need a gallery. Sometimes, like I've had a show, there's a little shop down the road, and I had a show there. And because there's big footfall, you get lots of people coming through. It may not feel great that it's not in a gallery, but you know, there's some small spaces that have big footfalls. So you could find a really clever, quirky place to sometimes have a sort of mild show. And then, you know, it's lovely to have a gallery show. But I think, because we've got artists who are like, oh, I want to have a gallery show. And I'm like, well, there's other places, there's other spaces, there's hotels. We're starting to see hotels, like foyers and places like that. there are other places that maybe you could reach out to, or other, I don't know. Because it'd be lovely for me to see a show of yours. Would be, I'd want to see your sketchbooks, I'd want to see your drawings, and then maybe just a few paintings would be enough. For me, I think you've got probably enough body of work to put out there and see what happens. And then you go, right, this work's quite fresh, rather than it can feel too developed. That's the bit that where, you get to an area. An interesting artist called Raymond Pettibon. I don't know if you know him, but he works on walls, and he's very direct, and he paints lots of surfers. So you might have seen lots of his paintings of waves and surfers. And if you go online, I think he's drunk in most of his interviews. But his work, I love his work, and it has that illustrative freshness, but he doesn't give a monkeys. He does exactly what he wants. He doesn't care. And listening to you, and he'll stick it anywhere, and the paper's falling apart. It's literally held together. I think he was playing baseball against it. He doesn't care. And that sometimes has to happen as a show. So I think with regards to you having a show, maybe you are ready. You don't overcomplicate it. I think I'd love to see your work now, and I could imagine it. And I know framing's so expensive. If only we could have cheaper framers. I think everyone's dying from expensive framing processes. But
yeah, I thought about just using twigs or something, just tie them onto a twig. I don't know.
But I think rethinking the way that the work is seen is a tough one. And I know this sort of virtual and online exhibitions, but it would be lovely to see a more tactile exhibition, because I reckon some of your work would be quite, the paper's warping and stuff like that, which that adds value to the work as well, or notes or stuff like that. So anyway, I wanted to keep it short. So thanks for your time. I know we originally said we were going to be quite nervous about doing this, but it's great. Hopefully it records. It should do. I'll be posting it up. If it doesn't, I'm going to start crying. So, but thanks for your time, Betty, and congratulations. Well done.
Thank you, Connie, Caroline.
And it's great. It's great to see you. I guess you probably know Connie from Draw Cabaret Couture, one of the crew. I think they've got a huge amount of followers that we have now sort of tapped into, or vice versa. And I've spoken to them, and they're doing amazing stuff. And and they're really helping illustrators, artists, creatives keep together, and across Zoom, which has been amazing to be able to draw sort of life drawing via Zoom. So well done, Betty, and thank you for your time, and have a good day. Thanks a lot, and see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.